Hey guys, my name is Glendy and I'll be talking about the Toussaint Louverture-led slave rebellion that inspired Melville's Benito Cereno. So Herman Melville was born on August 1st, 1819 in New York City. His father was Allen Melville, a high-end importer and merchant who supported the family by importing French dry goods. In 1830, Allen Melville left the dry goods business to partake in the fur business. However, he was also borrowing heavily to finance his business interests, and his failed attempts to branch out into the fur business caused the family's fortune to take a big hit. So, an interesting fact is Herman Melville's mother, Maria Gansevoort Melville, added the E to the family name following her husband's death. So during the 1830s, he was enrolled at Albany Academy and Albany Classical School. Here, he studied literature and began writing poems, essays, and short stories. He left Albany in 1837 for a teaching job in Massachusetts, though he found the work to be unfulfilling and soon returned to New York City. Later, Melville signed on as a cabin boy for a merchant ship called the St. Lawrence, which traveled from New York City to Liverpool, England. His subsequent wild journeys provided the sparks for his yet to be realized literary career. After arriving at the Marquesas Island of Polynesia in 1842, Melville and a crewmate deserted the ship and soon after were captured by local cannibals. Although Melville was treated well, he escaped after 4 months on board another whaling ship, the Lucien, and was jailed after joining the crew in a mutiny. He eventually wound up in Hawaii before catching a ride back to Massachusetts on the USS United States, arriving home more than 3 years after he left. After his return, Melville was able to pen the following novels: Typee, A Peep at Polynesian Life; Omo, A Narrative of Adventures in the South Seas; Moby Dick, and Benito Cereno, and many more. Throughout the late 1850s, Melville turned his creative interests to poetry. Herman Melville died of a heart attack in New York City on September 28 in 1891. The Toussaint Louverture-led slave rebellion of the 1790s. So during the 18th century, Haiti was known as Saint Dominique. Saint Dominique became France's main producer of sugar, coffee, indigo, and cotton generated by an enslaved force. It made Saint Dominique one of the wealthiest colonies in the area. The French Revolution broke out in 1789. Saint Dominique had five distinct sects of interest groups. Among these groups were white planters, many who owned plantations and slaves. The three remaining groups were of African descent: those who were free, those who were slaves, and those who had run away. The slave population was close to 500,000. Meanwhile, the whites made up 40,000 of the population. The enslaved made the first move. Led by former slave Toussaint Louverture, slaves rebelled against the white planters on August 21st, 1791. By 1792, the slaves controlled a third of the island. Despite reinforcements from France, the area of the colony held by the rebels grew, as did the violence on both sides. Louverture had managed to keep French and British forces at bay, even went as far to expand the revolution beyond Haiti, conquering the neighboring Spanish colony. At last, Louverture was finally captured by Napoleon Bonaparte's brother-in-law, Charles Leclerc. French rule and slavery were restored, and Louverture was taken and sent to France, where he died in a prison in 1803. Meanwhile, on December 27th, 1804, violence had reached the coast of South America. Slaves on board the Spanish vessel Tyrol revolted, killing 18 Spaniards, some with daggers and others by tying them and throwing them alive into the sea. It's this very ship that Captain Amasa Delano stumbles upon on a February afternoon in 1805 in the South Pacific. The events that took place upon the Tyrol would become the main source of inspiration for Herman Melville's Benito Cereno. So Melville pushes the events farther back in time, although the incident on which he bases his story occurred during 1804 through 1805. The events that occur in the novella Benito Cereno take place in the summer of 1799. Melville keeps the real names of the sea captains involved, only changing the names of the ships. It's interesting that he names the slave ship San Dominic. In a way, it pays a tribute to the Toussaint Louverture led slave rebellion that occurred in Saint Domingue in 1791.